I figured out on this 900 that the PCB board, PCB, is not working because I tried shorting the pins. I opened it up already, so just open up the screws from the back and I'll show you what I mean. And I tried shorting the bottom two pins already, but it plugged in DC power, still not turning on. So I figured out the board itself is bad because I did plug into power. So make sure you plug in power, remove this connector. Right, if I plugged it in and I tried turning it on by pressing the bottom two pins here for 3 seconds and it still didn't turn on. So that's how I figured out the PCB board is bad, because it's the only other option. You could always try testing out maybe moving this cable connector over, maybe just this connector. So I'll show you this right now. So let me just separate these two. So you notice this is for the DC power cord, the left two, red and black, and these two on the right are for the battery. So all you do is loosen it up, and you're gonna need a mini flathead. So be very careful not to touch the two ends of the battery. Any battery will spark. Right, plug it in or separate it out. Removed it, so don't touch the two batteries terminals. Now I can move this back. See, now I just have just this and here. So make sure you plug your keypad back in just to verify it's not the keypad. So right, just let's see if that battery is causing it not to turn on. So what you're gonna do is get your power plug, the plug to the wall, right? You plug it in. So you may or may not get a charging light. Let's see. But let's see if I can try turning it on. So in my case, my battery light turned green, meaning it's fully charged the battery, but nothing at all. So let's turn it over and change the plugs over. So it's all plugged in, it seems fine. And remember the order, it's very difficult to see, but there's a DC minus, which is the left plug, plug 1. Plug 2, say DC plus down here. So that's your black and red for this connector here. Then the third pin will say battery plus, which is the red cable from the battery. And then the pin 4 will be the battery minus, which is the black cable on the battery. So what we're going to do is actually try switching it over. So you see I'm going to unplug this, plug this. So you don't have to worry about DC touching because I did it disconnected from the power. If it don't, make sure to unplug it, because you don't want to touch the two terminals and then spark something. So I'm just going to move it over. So you'll notice how I moved pin 2 to pin 3 because I'm changing over the DC plus to battery plus. So I'm putting that in there. That's tight, right? Tight in there. And then DC or the battery minus, it's gonna go from pin 1 to pin 4, where the battery minus will be. And I'll just move that out of the way. So you see how, if you need a close up, you can see power port, and move the battery and switch them over. So now let's plug it in to power cord. See, no light this time. But let's see if I can try turning it on. So when it's plugged in to the battery, you will not see a light turn on when it's plugged in. So try turning it on. Nothing at all. So I plugged it in to the DC port, to the battery port. Nothing's working. Most likely it's not getting delivered power somehow. Maybe it's a bad charger. Maybe it's a board. So it's kind of hard to tell. Unless you have a multimeter, you actually check the voltage. There's no way to really tell. I mean, you can always buy a new charger. It's good to have replacements, so it's a spare of known good battery chargers. But you notice on previous step how I had it connected to the DC port and the light turned red or then green. That means it is delivering power. So it just means the board itself is not accepting power. That's how I figured out this, it was not a charger. If you never got a light before, it's kind of hard to tell unless you get a new charger that's brand new and you know it's good or works on a different indicator. Then that's how you know the power cord, but you have to switch out the power cord to a different one. So I know this one's good because the light turned green, or you have to place a new one. So in my case, it is the board, and I'll show you how to replace it now. I'm here. I could unconnect this, and we're just going to disconnect everything. So the DC ports, and now we have the battery removed. So okay, and then let me see if I can separate as much as possible, because there's the DB9 RH32 and the load cell connection. And if you had a dual port, let's say you had 2 5 pins on this indicator, it will be similar, except you have instead of 5 cables here, you have 10 cables. So not much I can loosen here, but you'll see this one, the red, green, black, is for the RH32 connection. That's the transmit, receive, and ground. So you just have to remember the coloring of these: red, green, black. And then these for the load cell, they're actually labeled underneath. They're easier to see. Just know that EXE plus is red, SIG plus is green, yellow is like the shield, it says HD or SHID, SIG minus is white, and the EXE minus is the black cable. So we're actually going to loosen the RS-232 connection. And these don't matter if they touch, because there's no power being delivered to this board anyways. Alright, so I am disconnecting these. Right, red, black, green. Okay, so this is still attached to here. Okay, so now we're gonna see these. So we're gonna start loosening this up. I want to rewire the new board. You just have to remember the wiring for it. So okay, so now we have all the connections out. Right, remove the keypad, don't forget. And then now get your screwdriver, and we're actually gonna unscrew. You see the 4 metal screws, and take the board out. So I actually had to cut the zip tie from this connector, but you see my bad board. And you can get new ones directly through us. If, let's say, it's an old unit, it's not under warranty, we have a 1-year warranty, you can always purchase a new one. You just have to know if it's the red and black numbers, that's the 900A, and if it's the like white and black, white and blue, that will be the 900B. So you can always order replacement boards through us. So this one's bad, and I'm gonna get my new one and just clear this up, create space. Right, keypad is here, so I'm gonna get my new one, and then let's put it in here, and let's start hooking up things up. So I put the screws back in, and you just connect this one. It doesn't really matter which order you put it in. You know, you can put this one first or this one last, it makes no difference. Just remember that the DC minus port and DC plus, so the black one for this one goes to the first port, the one all the way to the left. So you might need to loosen it up a little bit if it's too tight in there. Make sure it goes all the way in. Yeah, let's put a second one. We're not going to add the battery yet. We're going to test it out without the battery, because this should work without any batteries. Just remember the red and black and red are in the correct order. That should be fine. And let's separate this out so you can see 3 cables. And if you remember correctly, the order, and you can actually see it sort of underneath here. It says TXA, RXB, and ground. So if you know the pin out of a DB9 connection, you'll know pin 2 is a transmit, which is red. Pin 3 is the receive, which is green. And then pin 5 is the ground, which is black. So if you remember that, and you remember the labeling here, you'll know that the red cable is for the first pin. So you put this in here. Be red, green, and black, and I'll show you that next. So I plug it in red, green, black, and make sure not to mix up the red, green, and black from this 5 pin, so I kind of separate it out. It should be the one that's connected to the DB9 or RS232 connection. So next, and if it's more visible, EXE plus, that's a red, SIG plus is green, HD is a yellow clear cable, or might I say SHID, SIG minus is white, and EXE minus is the black cable. So I'm gonna get these connections, make sure they're from the 5 pin connection, and start hooking them up now. So I got it all ready. See, red, green, yellow, white, black corresponds. I have my connector in. Make sure don't forget to connect this because it won't turn on with the new board. And this switch, sometimes people accidentally switch this. This should be in the on position. If you hit the switch down, this will actually disable the calibration. So when you go into calibration by pressing the hold and print button, it would actually only show up as CO8 and it can't go down to CO1 and CO7. So make sure the switch isn't on. And we're actually going to test it out. So don't connect the battery yet, if you have a battery. If you don't have a battery, then you have to worry about this. But let's first plug it in to power. Okay, same thing. So mine was delivering charge into my new board. So let's see if it turns on. Okay, so it does turn on. So that's good. And let me turn this off. Okay. So now on your left is if you have a battery, we'll connect these last 2 ends. So first, let's disconnect the power. We know it works, at least on power. Let's see if it works on battery. Maybe it's dead battery, and that'll be an issue. Be careful not to touch the 2 ends. See a red and black cable, so what we're gonna do is get the red cable and put in slot number 3 for battery plus, and a lot of cables here. So I'm gonna put this in here. Make sure it goes all the way in, and make sure it's all the way tight. And then careful with the black cable. I know it's very difficult. Maybe shaking hands, not touch the other end. When you're here, very easy to touch it. So make sure it goes all the way in. I'm holding it here. Okay, that's good. So now let me just try to see, does it turn on with just a battery? Okay, mine's did, but you never know. Maybe it's just a dead battery, so you do want to plug it into charge. Verify the charge light. Verify that charge light was on. That's good. So it's charging the battery. If you have 900B, you'll see a little battery symbol charging up. That's how you know the battery is charging. So charging battery. Board is working. All this was of the board replacement. We also got to verify the keypad and check that connection itself. Maybe one of those wires got loose back here. That's why I made you test when you were here. There's a reason why we tested and moved these over, just to verify if it's just the connector itself. Maybe these gone bad, sometimes it happens, but hopefully not. And this battery, the CR2032 battery, is just for saving a date and time setting, which is not necessary to the operation of this. Just make sure this is on, and that's how you fix and replace the board on a 900 indicator.